Hello and welcome back to the sideboard here at Star City Games Worcester. My name is Ruben Bressler and I am joined by Ray Robillard.
Hello.
And he has brought something interesting to the table. We aren't doing a deck tech. We're sort of doing four, but not really. We're doing a format tech. Something that I saw going on in the side of the room that I've decided to call Big Game.
I think that's a great name.
Tell us a little bit about what this format is.
Okay, it's basically the same thing as normal Magic, using a lot of older cards, but with these oversized 6x9 cards that were given out as prize cards for the arena season, which was kind of like a casual local game store promotion that Wizards ran back in 1997, 98, and 99. And so, most of them were given away as prizes for that. Some were given away to people who went to Gen Con those years. There was one that came in I believe in a comic book. So you get them from a number of different sources during those years.
Absolutely, and they made enough of them, and they also made, very importantly, basic lands.
That,
yeah, absolutely, that you could actually make decks out of them. So what you've done is you've collected enough of them to be able to make 4 40-card decks.
That's correct.
And they're playable, and you play them against each other, and all you need is a huge amount of table space, and you can play some big game Magic.
Yeah, as we put together a couple tables here to play.
Absolutely, and it was a ton of fun. I got to play a game myself, or a couple games myself, and the 4 decks that we have here, there's a Grixis-colored, black-based deck that has Solkanar, the Swamp King, and also has things like Black Knight,
Guardian Beast, Juzum Jin.
Lots of big black cards, also Dark Banishing is its kill spell of choice, which is very useful against this deck right here, which has Thorn Elemental in the green-white. Does it also have red, or is this just green?
This one I believe is green-white. This one is green-white-red.
Red.
And white-blue-red.
And then there's white-blue-red on the end here. This green-white deck is just giant, enormous creatures, Autumn Willow and Thorn Elemental, as you see here on the top. This one in the middle, also giant, enormous creatures, but slightly quicker, I think, as opposed to being slightly beefier, with Balduvian Horde as one of the major beat sticks, and of course...
You gotta love that card.
Everybody loves Vesuvian Doppelganger.
Earlier today it came up that I cast a Vesuvian Doppelganger to legend rule out Solkanar for at least one last time before the rule changes.
Absolutely, which actually brings up an interesting point. These cards were made in 97, 98, 99.
Yes.
But you use current rules.
Correct.
So you're gonna keep using the current rules as opposed to going back to, first of all, batches. But let's not even talk about batches.
Or interrupts.
Damage on the stack, things like that. We're gonna keep current with the rules despite the old cards.
There's a couple of house rules that we've come up with, and also rules governing deck construction. Each deck has at least one, if not multiple, Black Lotuses, which can create for some very explosive plays. To balance that, we put, also to add fun to the format, some Chaos Orbs in each of the decks. So that allows you to, if your opponent just throws out a turn 3 Shivan Dragon, it kind of gives you a chance to stay in the game.
Yeah, some decks have access to Swords to Plowshares, some decks have access to Dark Banishing, but the options are few and far between just because of what's been printed.
Right, it was very difficult to build 4 decks that had a unique feel, especially as I was mentioning to you before, there are only 3 of the 5 Ice Age Pain lands. They didn't print Sulphur Springs or Underground River.
Right, it's pretty unfortunate for the Grixis deck.
Has to use.
Fortunately, City of Brass is in this deck.
Preserves nicely.
Now, I want to talk about the cards themselves, because as you can see, they are put in, not really sleeves. What they've been put in here is, for those of you that have worked or been to comic book shops or Magic events, you'll see that these are boards for comic books. And you decided to use these as the sleeves. And then
boards, the backs is kind of just to make them less flimsy.
Yeah, exactly. And also keep them nice and playable for many years to come.
Correct.
Now, it was brought up earlier that you had partially considered laminating them or doing some other sort of card backing.
There have been a number of different things thrown around, things that people have suggested to maybe include some of the smaller, like box topper cards to give the format a newer feel.
Right, because you can use the same back for any card, the card on the front can be any size.
Right.
So you could include, for example, Emrakul the Eon's Torn, which was a box topper for Rise of the Eldrazi.
Some of the large commander cards. Yep.
There was a promotional Akroma's Memorial from Future Sight that I don't think was the card, it was just an advertisement, but it could still
you'd be able to
basically be the same thing. So do you want to have you thought about expanding it to that kind of
I've
thing?
been throwing the idea around. What I think I want to do first is look at getting some more of the hard-to-acquire cards. Some of the ones like you'll see here where it talks about it being a first. I'm sorry. Here's a good example. The second place prize for the summer season.
Sure.
Those you had to actually place high enough in the Arena League in order to win them. They're a little harder to get. So cards like Cursed Scroll, Vesuvian Doppelganger. I might only have one or possibly two of those.
You were
cards.
also mentioning that there is a Rebecca Guay or
Sarah
Rebecca
Angel.
Guay,
Yeah, that's
illustrated
quite expensive.
Sarah Angel. It's very rare and a little expensive. That you would be keeping your eye on for. Also.
Yeah, because it would certainly add a little flair to the decks that it would go in.
Now, another thing that when we were looking up cards online, there's another deck that's possible to build.
Yes.
And that's the Prosperous Bloom combo deck. Because this came out in 97, 98, 99, that's right about the same time that the Prosperous Bloom combo deck was very popular. And so all the pieces are there. You've got Cadaverous Bloom,
Squandered Resource.
Prosperity, Squandered Resources. There's even a Drain Life in the Soul Canar deck over
Meditate.
here. The one piece we're missing is Dark Ritual. However, Black Lotus is in this
Serves
format.
a pretty good substitute.
So it's a decent substitute. We'll be able to handle it. Don't worry, the combo deck won't win every round because there's another deck that we've thought of that's like sort of a blue-white control thing. Millstone, I believe, is another card along with...
I don't know if Millstone is in, but there's
Dissipate, certainly.
Dissipate. Yep. In Abeyance is another strong option against the combo deck.
And all of the decks have copies of Jester's Cap. Which
so you
which
move
is quite
the
interesting.
three Cadaverous Blooms, and it's going to be pretty difficult for your opponent to win.
Yeah, or even just assuming they don't have the Drain Life in their hand. Because they got the one Drain Life, and you'll be able to feed that deck. So this is one of the most fun formats because when you're playing Magic, it's introduced to you as you're this wizard commanding powerful spells,
Huge creatures.
and when you've played for as long as I have, you're used to playing Magic, right? And it's very self-contained, and you're within your little tabletop area. Sometimes you're even cramped. This is so freeing in that you can just windmill slam huge
Very
Lurgoyfs and elementals and Shivan dragons. It's like
Sarah
being a little
Angels.
kid again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because the cards are basically as big as I was when I was 12, right? So it's just a ton of fun, and thank you so much for bringing it over and showing to us. You're from Waterbury, Connecticut.
Correct.
And so you come out to a lot of the Northeast Magic events.
Yeah, fewer as life has moved on. I've had more responsibilities, but I enjoy coming to events like this, playing in the competitive event, and if I don't do so well, breaking out something casual like this.
Absolutely. This is just a fabulous... I've never even thought about this, and I want to build it now. And I want them for myself, and because it's so fun and so cool, and I really appreciate you bringing it over. And if you ever see him at a Northeast Magic event, call up Ray and shove some tables together and have yourself some fun with some Chaos Orbs being flipped from 4 feet in the air and windmill slamming some big stuff. So this is awesome, and thank you so much for coming to the sideboard.
Thank you for having me.
Roy Robillard. I am Ruben Bressler, and we are here at Star City Games Worcester.